Hi, and welcome to Clappia. In this video, we will see how to connect Clappia to Google Calendar using Zapier. Zapier is an online automation tool that connects different platforms together. This integration will allow you to automatically create calendar events from submissions made in Clappia. Let me show you how. You will first need to create an app in Clappia. So in my Clappia dashboard, I will open this app that I've already created. This is a meeting scheduler app with some fields to it. I have the meeting title to capture the title of the meeting, then a field to capture the date and time, the description of the meeting, the location, and finally to invite the participants to the meeting. Whenever a submission is made, I want it to automatically create a meeting event in Google Calendar. When your app is ready, you can move to Zapier to connect it to Google Calendar. But before that, here you can see the date block has the format DDMM followed by the year. Zapier, however, uses the format MMDD followed by the year. So for that, you will need to change the date format in your app. There are two methods to do so. One, you can go to Workplace Settings on the left panel, click on Preferences, select Date or Time, and on the right panel, change the date format. But this changes the format for all the apps in your workplace. If you want it only for a specific app, then go to that app, and in Design app, I can add a calculations and logic block. So I'll add it over here right after the date block. I'll click on this plus symbol, select the calculations and logic block, and in formula, given a spreadsheet type condition, that will convert the date block's format. So I will type in text and in brackets @. When I type in @, you can see all the fields from this app. So I'll pull in the date block. You can see the variable matches, comma, and then give the date format. I'll remove this bracket here, and I'll also give a name to this field. Now I'll save this. Now that my app is ready, I can move on to Zapier to connect it to Google Calendar. In Zapier, log into your account or click on Sign Up if you don't have one. Once you've created an account or logged into your account in Zapier, click on Create on the left panel. Click on Zaps. Here you can see a trigger and an action, which means you will have to select which platform is the trigger and which is the action. You can also search for the platform over here. So since I'll be pushing data from Clappia to Google Calendar, the action platform will be Google Calendar and the trigger should be Clappia. However, Clappia is currently not available to select as the trigger. Therefore, you can use webhooks instead. Please note that the webhooks feature is available in the Pro plan of Zapier at the time of this video's making. Once you have selected webhooks as the trigger, you can set it up on the right panel. So first choose an option as the trigger event. I'll select Catch Hook and then click on Continue. I will leave the child key blank. Click on Continue again. Zapier will provide a webhook URL to you. Copy this URL and this will be used in Clappia. So go back to your Clappia app and in Design app, go to Workflows. In Workflows, click on Add Step and select the REST API node. This node is used to transfer data from Clappia to Zapier whenever a submission is made, and you can configure this node on the right-hand panel. First is the step name. You can give it a name or leave it as it is. Now in server URL, paste the webhook URL that you received from Zapier. So I'll just paste it here. Then the method type is post. The query string can be left blank. In headers, this will be content type. You can select it from the list. And this will be in JSON format, so application JSON. The body type will be JSON, and finally in body, map the required fields. So first one will be date, so I will just type that in here. And now I will pull up the field variable from the app that corresponds to the date. I'll just open up another tab. Now we have the date block, but I will be using the formatted date instead. So this is the variable. And over here, I'll just type in @ formatted date, comma. Next, we have start time, which is this field. So here @ start time. So I'll just be mapping all the fields from the app over here. Now I've mapped all the fields. You don't have to do this for every field in your app. You can only map those that are required in the Zapier configuration. I'll save this Now make a submission to your app if you don't have one already, because it will need to be tested in Zapier. So for that, I'll go to App Home to make a submission. I'll set the date, and you can see the formatted date in the MMDD format. Now in attendees, I will be giving in the email addresses of those who are participating in the meeting so that they will also receive the calendar invite. Now I've given two email IDs over here separated by comma. If you have multiple attendees, you can use the single line text block to capture the attendees' email addresses and list them out one by one separated by comma. I'll save this. You can view all your submissions under the Submissions tab. Now let's go back to Zapier. Now for the test, we've already copied this into the REST API workflow node. So now that we've configured that node, I'll go ahead and click on Test Trigger. Once you click on Test Trigger, click on Find New Records if you want any recent submissions to be pulled. Otherwise, it'll automatically be pulled over here. Click on it if this is the right submission from the Clappia app that you want to test out. You can see this is the exact details that I had made in my submission. You can also edit it if you wish, but I will leave it as so. Now I'll go ahead and click on Continue with Selected Record. Once you click on this, you'll be sent to the action platform to configure. So now we are setting up the Google Calendar. So now in Action Event, select the type of action that you require. I will select Create Detailed Event. My Google account has already been linked to Zapier, so I can just leave it as it is. However, if you are new or haven't linked any Google account, it will ask you to do so. Once you have linked it, click on Continue. Now under Configurations, map the fields received from Clappia to the event fields in Google Calendar. So in Calendar, I will select my email address. For the summary, you can either type in manually or you can pull up details from the Clappia app. Simply click on the plus symbol at the side and you can see over here all the fields from the app. If you have not listed any field in the REST API workflow in Clappia, those fields will not appear over here. Only the ones mentioned in the body, like so, will appear in this list. So for the summary, I'll select title. Then for description, again, I will select the plus symbol. I have the description field, so I'll click on this. Location. Next, I will configure the date and time. Again, I'll click on the plus symbol and I'll select date. This is the formatted date in Clappia, not the original date block. Now that I've added the date, I should add the time. So again, I can click on plus and click on start time. Now do note, to capture the correct date and time in Zapier, you will have to type in the letter T in between the date and time. This is one of the acceptable formats in Zapier. Similarly, for the end date and time, I will select the same date, the end time, and add the letter T in between these two fields. You can configure the rest if you wish, either by typing it in manually, or you can add fields to your Clappia app, map them to the REST API workflow node, and then add it over here. For now, I'll just leave it blank. I have attendees, so I have that mapped as well. Even though it is comma separated, it will still send out the Google Calendar invites to each of them. That's all for the configurations, and I'll click on Continue. Now you can either skip the test or you can run it. It is better to run the test. Now that I've clicked on Test Step, I would have received a calendar invite. So let me check it out. I'll open Google Calendar and I have received the invite. If I click on it, it also mentions that it has sent out the invite to the other two attendees. It has given the title and it has also captured the exact date and time. Now, once you have tested it, go back to Zapier and then click on Publish. Once it is published, anytime you make a submission in your Clappia app, the workflow will get triggered. It will send the data to Zapier, which will then send it to Google Calendar. So let me make another submission to test it out. I have filled in some details. Now I'll click on Submit. Now I don't need to go back to Zapier. I will directly go to Google Calendar. And you can see the event has been created. Now this will also work on the Clappia mobile app. If you haven't downloaded it already, you can do so either on Play Store or App Store. And the moment you create your app, make edits or give access to your users, it'll be live and ready to use instantly. So in this way, using Zapier, you can easily connect Clappia to platforms like Google Calendar, even if direct integrations are unavailable. This allows you to automate processes and save time. If you have any questions or need help in configuring this or on any other feature in Clappia, feel free to reach out to us by clicking on Request Support. Thank you.